Oh, love. Most people talk about love like it's fate, chemistry, or luck. Psychology does not look at it that way. Love is not a feeling that appears and then either stays or disappears. Love's actually a structure, an energetic structure. It has patterns, it has predictable problems, and if you don't understand those patterns, you keep calling confusion love, you keep calling anxiety, passion love, you call emotional intensity compatibility and love, and all the bullshit games people play. So these are the top 3 facts about love, not from a psychological perspective, not from fantasy and romance tales and vague advice, just what actually is visible scientifically if you want to understand why people fall in love, why they struggle in love, why some relationships last while others slowly break down, and why we're attracted to these things in the first place. So the first fact about love is that love isn't just one thing. Psychologists have spent decades trying to measure it. And one of the most widely used ways of understanding romantic love is that it includes 3 major parts. It includes intimacy, passion, commitment. Intimacy is closeness, it's trust, it's emotional openness, feeling understood, being seen. Passion is attraction, desire, excitement, and intensity. Commitment's the decision to stay, to invest, to keep choosing the bond over time. That matters because most people mistake one part for the whole thing. They feel passion and assume it means the relationship's deep. They have sex and then they think that's love. They feel intimacy and they think that means attraction's automatically always going to stay high. They don't look at it from an energetic perspective with a range of polarity, with a fluctuating wave of polarity. Love is stronger when these parts work together, when you understand these things. When one part's doing all the work alone, it fades, and that's where we get confused. And that's why the early stage of love can be misleading. In the beginning, passion makes you feel certainty really quickly. Attraction's strong, novelty's high, attention is constant, bonds feel really obvious, you just show your best side, and that strong feeling's not the same a little while later. Passion pulls 2 people together really fast. We've all had that. And then that safety, that trust, that maturity, that long-term fit, well, that becomes evident. Intimacy takes time because it depends on truth. Commitment takes time. It depends on behavior, not just feelings, not just being... I was about to go on a rant here, but the psychology of this shows the same basic point, that love's not just what you feel in the moment. It's also what the foundation of the relationship is made of. And energetically speaking, it's what brought you there in the first place. That's what interests me. The psychology of these thought patterns, these patterns and these energetic biological signals that can be measured by research. This research shows that it's love's attached to reward, to attachment, to trust. It explains why heartbreak feels physically painful and emotionally destabilizing. These are all scientifically measurable points. It's not just in your head in a causal sense. It involves real neural biological processes that are tied to pleasure, attention, bonding, stress, behavior. So when people just say love in the way that they think of it in one basic thing, psychology and neuroscience actually help articulate that and take that further into more points that we can measure from. And the practical point is simple. Do I feel love? Well, what's this relationship actually made of? Is there intimacy? Is there attraction? Is there commitment? Is there a balance of all these things? Because one of the biggest mistakes people make is not actually being true to a whole harmonious balance of all of these feelings to make a complete relationship. They look to others to give them validation for this feeling, but they don't have that healthy feeling and that healthy structure and understanding within themselves. Love isn't formed on heavy attachment, and a lot of people call love their attachment styles of getting activated. Some people feel safe, closeness, how understood they feel, how they respond to distance, how they handle conflict, how they interpret attention, silence, rejection, reassurance. These are all of the games that we play as kids and then call ourselves adults in relationship. And these attachment styles really show that insecure attachment shapes how you think. It gives power away in situations to partner with one partner or another, especially those under stress. It means two people can both say that they're in love and be living in totally different psychological realities. It's kind of funny if you think about it, but anyway, that's on another topic. On a more serious note, someone with a more secure pattern usually experiences love with more steadiness, with less emotion. They can get close without panicking. They can tolerate temporary distance without assuming abandonment. And we've all been guilty of that. I say these points, but I say them from a personal, reflective point as well. They interest me in why in the past I've had to prove the whole relationship is safe. You dig into that and you realize where your anxiety, where your attachment, where your anxious attachment styles get correlated with the idea of love, and where more fear and hypersensitivity comes in when you're getting it, when you're not getting it, when tones are expressed and signals are taken as threats, and all of these things that you might not want to associate with love, but it's part of the same experience of love and closeness and pleasure and loss of control and emotional overload. These things happen not because people don't care, but because sometimes these things become too intense for others, and if you don't understand them within yourself, well, you can't be putting that onto your partner. So that's why love's not just about compatibility on paper. It's about regulation. And that's what these videos are about. It's about how to self-regulate yourself and understand yourself, in the world out there, how you handle closeness. Can both people handle conflict without treating it like a catastrophe? These are where these patterns go out of control, and the spiraling loops and similar stories that you see in families, they keep repeating themselves. Trauma cycles, a lot of these destructive relationship loops, they're not random. They come from learned behavior. That's where these patterns are. That's why we're actually here in these bodies in one way, to learn how to navigate these things better. Because love is also a spiritual exchange, and it's also an energetic exchange. But bringing it back down to a physical, when both people say the same things and they have different words and vocabulary for it, I love you means something else. And psychology's been mapping these loops for years. In fact, a lot of the issues that we deal out there in interpersonal relationships in the first place are from a ability or an inability to navigate these ideas in the first place. So love brings us closer together. And it brings us even closer together for those old patterns to show up. That's where, you can look at it from an interesting point of view. You can look at it as a puzzle to solve within yourself, not about needing more or less fear, shame, dependence, sex, trust, vulnerability. It's about understanding your own inner relationship and giving yourself a sense of calm, of depth, and moving away from those patterns of addiction and instability and craving that anxiety, craving those hardcore emotions to prove that love is deep, and that's how you feel activated. So the useful questions here is not just, do we love each other? It's what happens when our love gets deeper? What happens when it gets tested? How do we react? How do we learn? How do we choose to move? Is it distant? Is it insecure? Is it disappointed? Is it jealous? Is it tired? Or is it progressing? That's a big marker of love. You don't enter a relationship and expect it to be perfect from the start. It's constant work. And that work, again, you might think, why would I want to do this in the first place? Why would I want to take myself out of a comfortable set of experiences in life? Firstly, because life always changes, and so one way or another you're here to navigate and to learn that, and the best way to learn about yourself is through other people, but it's about making the habits to stay strong and healthy within yourself. because the science doesn't support the idea that healthy couples never struggle. It supports something more practical, that healthy couples have conflict. They annoy each other. They rub off the wrong way on each other and they repeat some issues. But what predicts a healthy relationship isn't perfection. It's the way that you and couples handle those situations and move forward. And that's truly a marker of what we're here to do in life. It's to, have the ability to repair your conflicts, to self-regulate, to grow as a person. And that point really matters because it really affects how you go out there every day in life. It affects how you attract people in life. All of these videos, you might notice, they're about, like power, money, this, that. They all come back down to one thing, the understanding that you have within yourself. So if you think anything matters, if you think love matters to you, it doesn't mean that there's no conflict or that you will panic less or more or anything like that. It means that the right person with your own right mindset will remove old wounds, will remove family trauma cycles. You'll understand it better. You'll be able to last longer in love, and not only in love, but in life as well, not by avoiding difficulty, but by accepting it, dealing with it. Dealing with difficulty without turning every problem into disrespect, anger, contempt, manipulation, emotional chaos, that drama. This is where all of these small behaviors matter more than what people think. It's a very act in doing it. It's part of actually the brand that we're building with STEO. It's about daily habits that actually shift your awareness back into these little tiny ways of aligning with, hold on a sec, am I reflecting on this properly? Am I repeating the same pattern? We need to practice that like anything else. It doesn't mean you start acting like a robot and you're perfect. It means that your emotional climate is always changing and you should always be aware of it. So back to love. A relationship can't survive for long if negativity keeps outweighing warmth, humor, affection, curiosity, respect, and you can't respect yourself in a situation or expect someone else to respect you if you're not aware of these things and if you're not honest with yourself and working on things. Because it lasts better when you keep growing instead of just going static and avoiding. This is part of self-expansion, and the research on this suggests that one person bond that is closely bond to another can either support growth or it can just completely keep engaging in the activities that keep you there. And that's the difference between a healthy relationship and trauma. It's the difference between being alive and just being stuck in comfort and familiarity. It's the difference between moving forward in a relationship and a relationship that stops being curious, stops paying attention, looks for things elsewhere, but doesn't want to move out because it's too hard to, because of whatever. People get into all different types of relationships and confuse love with situationships, with arrangements, with all different kinds of things. But it's actually more simple than that when we look within ourselves. Love is filtered through attachment and all of these things. But it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be dependent on fantasy. It can be more simple. It can be about how two people handle their communication, how they repair, how they respect each other, how they manage conflict, how they keep bonds alive over time as life changes. And that'll clear up a lot of common confusion because chemistry is always real. It's about a polarity of energy, but it's not enough. Having a strong sense of security there from attachment is really powerful, but it can become insecure really quickly if you're not aware of these things. All of the nice things that you do for each other can feel like duty, over time. And all of these things are shaped by habits, including love. It's personal, and it follows patterns that you as your own psychologist can actually study if you're willing to. So these questions are actually more direct than wishy-washy than people think, than these movies and these songs and whatever. Is there real intimacy, or is it just a phase of attraction and progression? Are we actually building trust, or are we just reacting to each other and have figured out the best way to be comfortable? Do we know how to repair after conflicts, which inevitably happen, or are we just going to repeat the same wounds in a different form? Those questions, they're actually, deeply romantic in a sense, rather than just being analytical, because it's actually what brings people together. It's what the psychology of love and a relationship's what gives it legs. And, it's that longevity. And the final point is, love's not weak because you're emotional, or love being demanding because it's emotional and it asks for self-awareness and all this kind of stuff. Regulation, trust, patience. No, it's just exposing yourself in a vulnerable way to people, and more importantly to yourself, to see your old patterns, to create meaning out of them. It's one of the most fulfilling things that you can go in revealing yourself to yourself and psychologically understanding what self-love can be, and how you can bond, how you can cope, how you can rely on yourself and protect yourself from your old learned patterns and rewire those, neurological pathways to grow in connection with other people. So, in closing, love is not just about feelings and how you feel. It's something about how you build,